Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the A to B podcast, part two of this amazing episode that we're having with none other than the math, the myth, the legend, Max Dutton.
Yeah.
Welcome back, brother.
My man.
Okay, so we were talking, in the previous episodes about your experiences, but and we a lot of opinions. Okay, guys. So make sure that you guys go back and you guys see the part one of this episodes. I'll try to link it right here so that way it makes it easier for you guys to find. But you gave us a lot of opinions of things that have happened, and has shaped your opinion of things based on your early years of the Marine Corps. Where we left off in the previous podcast was when you went to boot camp and how you were a menace when you were over there.
Right.
You're slapping people with shower shoes
yeah.
and stuff, bro. Like,
Oh,
who
yeah.
the hell does that? Okay.
Savage.
Yeah, you were slapping people with shower shoes and stuff. You didn't really take boot camp serious. Is that what you still tell, where it's like, man, it's just gonna be easy,
No.
easy breezy like it was for me. So talk to us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, when I talk to people about recruiting, and the cool thing about my job now as the assistant recruiter instructor, I was the assistant recruiter instructor in both Fort Lauderdale, and I am still that here in Boston. I love that role. That's my favorite billet that I've ever had in my entire career. If I could do that and never retire and never do anything else, I probably would, because I just think it's a good place to be. Like, people ask me to go to BRC and stuff. I'm like, oh, go to school and teach the recruiters. I'm like, I don't want to. I like being in the streets with these guys, right? But anyway, I digress. Like, when I do interviews, I still do interviews, because a brand new 3-month recruiter, right? How many ARIs at their par month or 3-month are going to be like, yeah, I'm going to do this interview for you and show you how to sell somebody.
They don't do it because they're no longer relatable.
They're afraid that
Yeah.
they can't do it, and then they take some credibility. That's the truth.
Mhm.
I'm not afraid of that. And I think that's one of the things that separates me as an ARI or as an 8412 from so many other 8412s.
I agree.
Because I'm not afraid to pick up the phone and make the call. I'm not afraid to sell the kid. I'm not afraid to talk to the parent. I'm not afraid to go to the school and get that principal to give me the list, even though they're filled with, freaking non-supporters of the military, right? I'm not going to label them. But the point is, when I do these interviews with these young people, I tell them straight up that this is going to be the hardest thing you're ever going to do. For sure. Like, I don't sugarcoat anything. I just focus on the reality. Like, here's the reality of the Marine Corps. Here's the reality of life. Here's your reality right now. And look, I had the pleasure of stepping into the Harvard campus. One of our Marines was getting promoted to master sergeant, and so he's a good friend of mine. I was there to support him, and spending time in Harvard, in their ice hockey rink, and looking at the people in the indoor track and the young people outside playing tennis. Like, there is something so beautiful, so prestigious about being, at Harvard, Ivy League school, 17 or 18, 19-year-old individual at Harvard in their freshman year, sophomore year. Like, man. And I think that that's a beautiful thing. And like, I want that for my son, to be able to have that option. And I think that anyone who's doing that and who has that Ivy League opportunity is great. But I also don't think that, like, I'm not here to ever de-sell somebody on college. I'm just here to de-sell them on mediocrity. Going to Harvard is not mediocrity, right? Going to Oxford is not mediocrity. Going to Cambridge, going to MIT, it's not mediocrity to go to University of Chicago. It's mediocrity to not know what you want to do and then go to a 2-year community college and live at your mom's house because you're just afraid to take action on your goals and dreams, and to get some random degree as an x-ray technician because you heard that they get paid decently. That's called mediocre. And it's not mediocre because x-ray technicians aren't important jobs. It's not mediocre because you went to school. It's not mediocre because of anything other than the fact that you aren't doing something that is building you and helping you grow, and that is in your heart that you want to do because you don't know who you are, because you're too afraid and paralyzed by fear. Now you're mediocre. That's what I taught them about.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have joined the Marine Corps right then and there, because I've never heard that type of perspective before of putting it like that. It's like, oh yeah, well, and selling mediocrity, or not selling mediocrity, but selling the opposite of it. What would you consider will be the opposite of it? Success?
The opposite of mediocre is anything that is above average. right? Like mediocre is average. It is, you know, ordinary. And I think that if you are doing something in your heart that is beyond that, above that, that's a good thing. I think that what's the biggest issue for a lot of young folks today is they're either, number one, unrealistic and they don't know how the world works, or number two, they don't know what they want to do.
Yeah.
And when I do interviews and when I teach Marines how to sell, there's a type of question that I urge them to ask, and they don't teach this in MC3, and it's called reality-based questions. A reality-based question is a question that gets an individual to just simply look at their reality. Because when I was growing up, I didn't have to have somebody tell me that the military was a good option because I could look at my reality. I didn't have to have somebody tell me that most colleges are a waste of money. I didn't have to have somebody tell me that if I stay here, I'm not going to grow. I didn't have to have somebody tell me that this job I have at the hardware store, they could give me every promotion available. I'm never going to make money here. Like, I didn't have to have somebody tell me that because the reality of my life and the reality I saw and the reality of the people I knew made that clear.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a world where people ignore reality because the cell phone shows them a different side of life. And so a reality-based question is like, Johnny, let me ask you something, bro. You work at Target. At Target right now, how many people work there that are above the age of 40 years old? Oh, I don't know. Like most of them, half of them, a lot of them. Why? Are these people bad people? Are these people drug addicts? Are they criminals? Are they felons? No. Why do they work there? I'll tell you why. It's because they miscalculated how challenging life was. They miscalculated how expensive life was. They miscalculated how much time they had. They started doing what they wanted to do when they were 19 to 25 instead of doing what they had to do. And now they're 25 until they die and they do what they have to do. What I implore you to do, Johnny, is to do what you got to do right now. To hustle, grind, build yourself mentally, morally, physically, emotionally, financially, in every way. And in that way, when you're 25, 26, 27, you can do what you want to do for the rest of your life. That's a reality-based question.
Is that what, as you're talking, everything you're saying is making sense. But the question that is coming into my mind is like, when did that shift occur? Like when you were going through boot camp, did you have this mentality already? Like, because obviously you understood, I think that you had a very solid understanding on your reality. You've always had, in my opinion, based on how I hear you talk about it. But at the same time, it's like, when was that shift? What happened that made you cause that shift? Or has it always been like this?
The shift to understand that, well, I mean, to understand what exactly that, um, like not
Like
mediocre. Or,
no, yeah, like because you got to think about it, man. Like I get what you're saying because of the story that we've talked up until this point. But right now, there is, somebody out there right now that is, or even one of your future Marines or one of your recruiters' future Marines, right?
yeah.
That is going through something very similar. And there needs to be a shift. There needs to be something that causes that shift in that mentality for mediocrity, or not even mediocrity, but from settling, which happens a lot in the military. It's
Gotcha.
like,
I understand now.
okay, go ahead.
The reality is, I was running away from something. Like I was running from something. Most people, they're not running from something. They're moving toward something. And there's a difference, right? Like when you are running from something, it means that you're afraid of something. You are terrified of it. You are escaping. If I was chasing you with a butcher knife right now, you would run and try to get out of here because this guy's insane. You're going to have your heart racing. You're going to be aggressive toward it. You're gonna roll up those stairs faster than you ever moved up a flight of stairs in your life. You're gonna bust to the door and won't even turn the knob. You're gonna go straight through the door, bang, and you're out. That's what happens when you're running from something. You have a certain level of tenacity because when a human is afraid of something, it's fight or flight, really, right?
But
Or
what were you
paralyzed.
afraid of, or what were you running back then?
Well, I was afraid of being poor. I was afraid of poverty. I was afraid of cockroaches in my shoes. I was afraid of being homeless. I was afraid, like, I had to take care of myself for so long. Like, I was afraid of becoming nothing. I was afraid of being like my dad. I was afraid of, um, you know, having to sell crack, to make money. I was afraid of getting arrested. You know what I mean? And most people are just moving towards something. They have goals, they have dreams, they got things they want to achieve, and so they're moving toward those goals. But it's like there's a certain level of energy that is in each of those situations. And so for me, going through boot camp and like, it was easy for me because I was so ready to be done with this previous life that there was nothing that these drill instructors could do to me that was going to make me quit. Nothing. Like they could have taken me and thrown me in a dryer and beat me to death. Like I wasn't
Yeah.
going back. Right. In comparison to being thrown in a dryer and beaten to death, boot camp was easy because that did not happen. Not at all.
Yeah.
Right. So like, I was willing to go that far and it never
It
happened. So like I
never
was good. Right.
happened.
And honestly, the same thing with the rest of my career. Right. Like, um, and so and even right now the shift has, I'm still running from something. I'm still running from poverty. I'm still running from mediocre lifestyles, right? Like I'm not going to retire and be mediocre. I'm not going to retire from the institution I'm in right now. Honestly, I wasn't even sure I was going to hit this reenlistment again, but I was like, my extension doesn't end until 17 years. And so like if I didn't reenlist and I'm getting out at 17, that doesn't make any sense. Let me just finish up my time. But like even still, like I am building something so then that way I'm not going to be I'm not going to be poor. I'm not going to be struggling. I don't want to work for a man anymore. I don't want somebody to tell me when to go to work and when to
Yeah.
come home and when I don't want that.
Yeah.
I'm done with that.
Yeah. I'm kind of all the way on the other side of that already.
Yeah.
Whenever it comes to entrepreneurship and all that stuff. And I'm gonna tell you something, man, and I get the reason why I get the reason why you feel that way. But for me, I had a very scarce mindset when I was getting out of the Marine Corps. Like I was preparing for the worst. And what I realized that happened to me is I wasn't paying attention to the real blessings that God was giving me in my life. You see what I'm saying? So that to me, once I actually let go of that, I saw that because I gave it to God, by the way. Like I've also had like a journey, of discovery with me whenever it comes to my relationship with God. But dude, once I realized, like, yeah, man, like, no, I'm gonna do this because this is what is right. It feels right in my heart, and I'm prepared for it, and I'm gonna do because I had to make that determination not at 17, but at 14. And what you think about it, I would have been right there too. At this year, I either would have had to either re-enlist for my last one, or I probably would have been a master sergeant already. And dude, like, I'm telling you this right now, me getting out at 14 years is one of the biggest blessings that I didn't know I needed in my life. And even through the divorce, even through me getting divorced, even through me, like all this stuff, like I've been very anchored in the purpose that I feel that God has put into my heart. And that hasn't allowed me to even think about the finances because God has always been providing for me.
Yeah.
Like one of my good friends, Abe, you just saw him on the phone, Like God has placed amazing people like him, like Jasmine, people that believe in me and believe in my potential. And with that, bro, like I don't I learned to make money and now I don't have to worry about making money anymore.
You believe in God?
I 100% believe in God. Yes, 100%.
Why?
Um At the beginning, I'm gonna give you the honest answer. At the beginning is because that was what I was indoctrinated on. I grew up in a Puerto Rican family. I came to all this stuff, but now, um because again, honest answer, because I have feelings inside of my body and inside of my mind, inside of my soul that only faith can understand.
What are you?
Puerto Rican.
Says who?
Well,
I mean, what is a human being?
hmm,
You ever think about that?
no, actually.
Like that's why I believe in God. Because I think about that a lot. What is a human being? What is Earth? What is this galaxy?
Depends on who you ask, but I think I understand where you're
What
coming
is the
from.
universe? It's not depending on who you ask, because the truth is, everyone's answer comes to the same answer. Everyone's question, rather, comes to the same answer.
What do you think that answer is? I'll
I don't
thank you.
know.
I was gonna say the same thing. Yeah.
But what that means is we don't know anything. And through not knowing anything, everything that we've put a label on has been done by people like you and I. Your title as a human being, your title as a Puerto Rican, the existence that we have, everything we have has been an attempt to understand what we are. You would not look at a building and expect that that building had been built by itself. You would not look at a painting and assume that the painting had been painted by itself. How can we look at each other or look at the sky or look at the grass and not believe in a creator? And that's the part that really resonates in my mind.
We,
Like,
we think about we think about we think about very similar stuff, and that's one of the things that I struggle with, when I got separated from God, because again, like I grew up in a very Catholic slash, always going to church family. Um, but in my previous marriage, I didn't put God as the center of the relationship, and I'll take ownership of that, like I take ownership for that because I had to take ownership of it and I didn't, you know? And we can go over the could'ves, would'ves, should'ves, but at the end of the day, yeah, man, it's that now I've decided to put God at the beginning of everything, and that's why I've also decided to put in a different spin whenever it comes to the podcast, because the point of it is not to do harm, but do good. And if you're questioning, or if there's anybody questioning that bothers me. It's like, man, I had good intentions when I did this video, but people are doing it, or people are misunderstanding the purpose of the actual video. And again, ownership, and this is the reason why I'm here, because I knew you know how to listen, and you're not gonna let me brush shit off when we like, hold on a second, what do you mean by that? Because I don't understand it. Because I wanted to be very clear, crystal clear of what the intentions of the actual podcast are. I'm been working on myself a lot. That's why I reestablished my relationship with God, and certain things didn't sit right. Even though the message is the same, the way that I'm communicating that message is, specifically, if I take pride in being a master communicator in my profession, I cannot say one and be a hypocrite in the other, you know? So that's why I decided, man, to come out here, brother, had this conversation with you, and see how it goes, man. I think it's going really good, Um, but with that being said, man, what do you think is the biggest factor, the biggest takeaway that you've had in your Marine Corps career to date? Can you pinpoint it to a specific, either location, duty station, unit,
the biggest takeaway?
the biggest takeaway that you feel that has made you into the person that you are today? Let me rephrase that question. how do you feel that the United States Marine Corps has helped you and shaped you into the person that you are today?
I think the accountability. I think the accountability. I think being forced to be cautious with what you say, where you say it,
Hmm.
cautious of what you do when you do it.
Situational awareness, you would say?
I would say fear of retribution, fear of persecution, fear of non-judicial punishment. I would say that that's probably been the best thing that ever happened to me. Not wanting to lose what I had gained. The Marine Corps used to be my God. The Marine Corps used to be my God. I did things and didn't do things because I did not want to disappoint the Marine Corps. I didn't want to get NJP'd. I didn't want to lose my career. That was, I mean, that's the truth. That was one of the best things that probably happened to me early on.
I know, man, but how can you say that? Because when I look at you, right, and I look at your career, like I get it, right? You left that life behind because you were running away from it. You went to do the MEOP. You became a successful recruiter. All of these things, like, why would you be worried about the life that you are not living? Because, I mean, and you can correct me if I'm wrong and we can talk about it. But at the same time, man, it's like you're this good Marine that had this good career. Why would you be worried about the negative stuff that could happen to you?
Well, I wasn't always a good Marine with a good career, right? Like, the staff sergeant Dutton um, is not the same as the Lance Corporal Dutton, right? Like, you asked me what was the best thing that I gained out of the Marine Corps, and it was an understanding of consequences. Like that was the best thing the Marine Corps ever gave me.
Okay.
Was the fear of doing things. And I say the Marine Corps was my God in the sense that, I did like right now. I tell my wife this all the time. Like I love my wife, and I honor my wife, and I'll never cheat on my wife, and I'll never deceive her, and I'll never disrespect her, no matter how crazy she gets or what she thinks. Women are crazy, right? We know that. But it'll never happen. Like no one will ever be able to contact my wife with bad news and say, hey, I know something you don't know. Like it'll never happen.
Mm.
But it's not just because I love my wife. It's because I fear God. And I don't want to disrupt my relationship with God. And so the things that God wants me to do, like be a good man, good father, good husband, to love my wife, like Christ loved the church, right? The things that, like, that's the main reason why I don't sin, right? Before I had a relationship with God, the Marine Corps was that factor,
Mm.
right? It
Okay.
was that moral code I lived by. And honestly, coming from the streets, like I was a thief. I was a manipulator.
Mm.
You see how I can communicate with people?
Mhm.
I was just as good at communicating with people when I was 14.
Mm.
And so it's a very dangerous thing when you don't have a moral compass,
Mhm.
right? I was
Extremely. Extremely.
right. I was a manipulator, and I was a liar, and I was a deceiver, and I was a thief, and I was a cheater, and I was all those things.
Mm.
That's who I was. Not because I was a bad person, but because I had to survive. And when you come from the world of nothing, anyone who's ever grew up like I did knows that you have to sometimes steal to eat.
Yeah.
Like you have to, like, and honestly, if to have any luxuries in life, you have to take them.
So let me see if I'm understanding you correctly. So you joined the Marine Corps kind of with that mentality, but if I'm understanding the timeline says like all the way up to you were a Lance Corporal, you still had that mentality.
I would say, I would say it wasn't like I wasn't stealing people's stuff or nothing like that
You
per
weren't
se,
stealing
but
people boot bands,
yeah, I would still
or
feel like
peanut
that.
butter
Yeah,
packet from the chow
I
hall.
wasn't that dumb. I didn't mess around in boot camp, bro. I didn't mess around in boot camp. But like boot bands. Like I didn't have a moral compass, man. And so
Yeah.
like I was just a fighter, right? Like for example, I'll never forget. There was this one kid sitting on the bench, I was walking into the building, Marine, he's just looking at me, white kid. And I'm like, why you saying at me, bro? I'm like, I'm gonna fuck you up. And he's like, I don't know. Sorry, I was just looking at you. And it was so weird to me because where I'm from, you don't stare at a man unless you're ready to fight or
Mm,
you know him.
mm,
And I didn't realize that him and I were brothers because we're Marines.
mm,
That didn't connect to me. All I know is I got this dude looking at me like he wants something,
gotcha.
right? And so, I would say that probably is like a junior sergeant, man. I was a pretty like up to becoming a sergeant, junior sergeant. I was like I would say my whole first enlistment, man. I was bad news, bro.
Okay. Okay. What made you decide to change? Like, and it's just that, bro. Like, let me tell you. So, I brought in Marines before to the podcast, right? That I've been able to pinpoint. It's like, that's what it was, right? It's like that's what it was that made you change. It's usually like whenever you have a fear of getting, the consequences, like you said, right? Like, so it makes perfect sense. But were you ever put in a position? Because what I'm trying to get at is I'm trying to get to that position, right? I'm trying to fast forward and kind of get to the mindset that you have so that way you can give your opinions to the audience that might be going through those certain positions
Yeah.
or that might have Marines that might be going through those certain positions. And how do you know, lead a Lance Corporal? How do you lead a Lance Corporal Dutton that comes from that? Because you said it, everyone comes from a different background.
Yeah. Well, when I was young, man, um, there's a lot of things that happen in a life, in a individual's life. I've been married 3 times, divorced twice. I got married when I was 18 years old, and during that time, I was a very toxic husband, jealous, right? I wouldn't say abusive, like physically per se, but we got into fights, like you know what I mean. Where she would fucking hit me, or I would throw her in the wall. Like it was bad. Everything that I advocate against today is what I was kind of like, Um, and I'm not afraid to admit that. And anyway, like when we cared a lot about each other, but it was just a toxic young love. That's why you don't get married when you're young.
Mm-hmm.
Glad it happened because I grew a lot, but we got divorced when I was 21 years old, 22, and I felt like a failure. I wasn't working out. She ended up like sleeping with somebody like 3 days after she left. You know what I mean? That destroyed me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't blame her for anything, but like the point is, like I just was affected so negatively by that. I had a lot of people in my community telling me, "Oh, you're trash, like dumbass Dutton, like nobody." I mean, I had a master of guns literally coming from the whole platoon. Like no one's allowed to hang out with that Marine. No one's allowed to drive with that Marine. That Marine's not allowed to get in one's car. That Marine is like, don't hang with that Marine. I was just a shit bag, and then I was getting divorced, and I was just depressed, man, because I'm like, dude, I suck. I suck. This is not the kind of man I want to be, and that's literally how I felt. And I remember thinking, like, I look at guys who are in shape and are buff, and they're like, oh, stuff. I'm like, what does that person have that I don't have?
Mm.
What does that man right there have that I don't have? And I determined nothing. They just made a decision to do something about their life. And so that was kind of like the turning point for me, was when I was leaving Hawaii and I just got to Quantico, Virginia. And I remember I was like, I'm done. I look myself in the mirror. I'm like, no one's ever going to say anything to me ever again. Like, and the only thing people are ever going to say to me is I'm the fucking best. That's the only thing people are going to say to me. And anything outside of that is just because they are not who I am. They can't keep up with me. That's a decision I made. And so, from that point on, that's really when Dutton mindset began. I used to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I would go to the Quantico gym. I would work out for an hour and a half. I would sit down in the field next to the barracks, and I'd meditate, and I would listen to audiobooks. I started listening to audiobooks. And I did that every single day. And I remember I used to just sit out there in the field and I would just listen to audiobooks, and I would go work out, and I started getting really, really strong, started getting in good shape. And I let fitness become a little bit more of my identity. And like I got absolutely massive, man. I mean, I was like probably 50 pounds, just solid. I mean, I'm
How
still,
tall are you? Like you like 6'1", 6'2",
yeah,
ain't
about
you?
6'1" right now.
6'1", yeah.
I'm still very heavy. I'm 245 right now,
Mm.
but I was 250, like just
Nah,
solid,
it's fucking massive, bro.
solid muscle, and I was deadlifting like over 600 pounds and squatting over 500 pounds, and bench over 405. Like I was just that became my identity, my life. Like my worth was my fitness, right? And in my education. And so through reading and learning and I started to apply, what I was learning in these books in real life. And I started to use less of this and more of this and started to think about the words that I was speaking. I just changed myself. I made a realization right there on the spot where like, holy crap, I can become anybody that I want. I can be anything. I can change my mind right now and be mature and be stoic and roll my shoulders back. I don't have to be the goofy, loudmouth clown course, cornball dude. Like I don't have to do that. Like I can be anything. And that's when I realized that nothing is real.
Mm.
That's when I realized that our identity, like you said, you're not a product of your environment. Why? Because you're able to be whatever you want to be. That's when I made that realization.
Mm.
And that's when I started to get into entrepreneurship. And that's when I started to focus on making content. And that's when I started to be more intentional with my relationships. And that's just when my life changed. My life changed when I was about 23 years old, and I was sitting in that field. Didn't matter if it was raining, didn't matter if it was snowing, didn't matter what the situation was. I made a decision in my mind that I was not going to be a loser anymore.
So prior to the 23-year, you realizing, come to Jesus moment, if you will, of like, I'm not going to be this person anymore. How do you problem solve? Because I want the audience to truly, because I have a feeling of your answer. I just want you to verbalize it. Or if not, I want to explore a little bit more. But prior to that, how was your problem solving in situations? Did you always used to point at somebody else like, oh well, this happened because you didn't do this or you didn't do this?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Okay.
of course. I was very, very, none of this,
Okay.
a lot of that.
It wasn't until you started to go like, actually, let me start assuming responsibility of my own actions, that change started to happen, right?
I realized that it might not be my fault, but it's my responsibility simply because it is my existence. I'm involved.
Oh, that's so well put, brother.
Yeah,
That is so well put.
that's
Because that's where I want to get to. There's service members out there. Actually, this doesn't even apply to this applies to service members. This actually applies to everybody out there. Extreme accountability in your actions, even if you didn't, even if it wasn't your fault. Once, because if you truly want to be successful in life, and not only be successful in life, but actually truly feel success, man, because there's a very, and I've come to learn this the hard way, but I've come to learn this. There's a very fine definition in between what the actual definition of success is, because a lot of people reach a 7-figure business and not feel successful. That is what I want to people to understand, that the way that it starts, guys, is by you simply assuming extreme accountability of your actions, even if things are not your fault. So that way you can start working on the things that you truly need to work on and stop spending time on the things that are not going to yield you any results. The actions of others you cannot control.
yeah.
So you need to take extreme accountability. So I appreciate that. We got to 23. What enlistment was this? Are you going into your second enlistment? Are you about to go on recruiting duty?
I had already enlisted, so I was
Or re-enlisted?
I'd already re-enlisted, so I was already I was about 6 months into my second enlistment.
Okay, so you were 6 months into your second enlistment, and then you get orders. That's when you get orders.
I already had orders. I was already in Virginia.
So you were already, that was your second duty station, right?
Yeah. So I was in Hawaii for 4 years. I re-enlisted in Hawaii, and then I PCS'd very soon after I re-enlisted.
Okay.
And ended up in Quantico, Virginia.
As a musician?
As a musician.
What instrument?
I was a drummer.
Okay, so as a Marine Corps drummer, DC, I'm gonna ask you the same question that I asked Kevin. How the hell did you, as a Marine musician, end up on recruiting?
I did not like the Marine Corps band that much. I loved the experiences. I loved being able to be a drummer, and I grew up. Music was my only escape, man. Like when I was, my mom. I told you in the previous episode. Like my mom, she has always loved me. I've never felt unloved by her, and I think that's really special. A drug addict, some parts of her life, sex worker, some parts of her life, abuser. I've never felt unloved by her. And when I was about 7 years old, we were living in a homeless shelter, and right across the street was a music store. And I had this desire to play drums. It came out of somewhere, I don't know where. She spent every dollar that she had. She went to that music store and she bought the cheapest snare drum that they had.
Wow.
And I used to sit there at this homeless shelter and I'd hit this drum, bang, bang, and the ladies were so nice that, at 5 o'clock, and they would let me go in this little closet and just play this drum. I just beat the hell out of this thing, man. And people don't realize, man, they were like, he was in the band. Like, music saved my life, bro. And so I grew up in the band. I grew up in the music. And again, like what people were so vicious, man. The Marines and veterans alike, because they love trying to like talk poorly about my service because I was in the band. And these are guys who are like in motor T and like wherever else. Shut up, dude. But gosh, like how
they don't ever shut up, huh?
How dumb are you? But anyway,
never shut up.
The point is, like, I played music my entire life, and then when it was time to enlist, the recruiter was like, my mom said he only plays music, and so he said, "Oh, really? Me, Aubrey? Oh, yeah, and then it's literally like, boom, I got in the Marine band like that because I'm the type of dude that when I do something, I love it, I dedicate myself to it. I don't do anything, and I didn't realize this until like now, really, like as my more adult years. But I've never really been a half-asser. It's only the things that I don't like that I would half-ass when I was young. Yeah. But I was always dedicated to music. So the point is, I joined the Marine Corps band. I did 4 years in Kaneohe Bay in Hawaii, and I loved the experiences. I traveled to New Zealand and Australia and Palau and Tonga and Yap and all these other weird little places and played music. I just didn't like the culture of the band. I didn't like the fact that I wasn't getting like this Marine Corps experience I thought I was supposed to be getting. Little did I know, even if I was an admin or if I was in motor T or if I was in the other like 299 out of 300 jobs, I would still feel that way. But it was the mindset of a Marine musician that I didn't like. These guys were, at least in that particular place, there were a lot of tattletales and just like, like weird things like that.
A little drama.
Yeah, like, Dutton's a band, like I felt like I would have fit in a lot better if I was in the infantry, like with these regular Marines, I would have just fit in better with the misfits. Yeah. But I just been in with the band. So when I got to Quantico, it only got worse. Because even though I was more mature, I had gotten into a situation right before I PCS'd. I got arrested. My friend and I, we went out for some drinks just to say goodbye. He had already gotten out, and I got arrested because he assaulted a security officer. To be honestly, we were at a bar. I saw a guy who came to a house party I had one time, and I was like, dude, that guy serving, that's your buddy, right? He stole my GoPro. And I presented myself to him. I said, hey, you stole my GoPro, bro. Like, you're a bitch. Like, you know what I mean? I know he's serving a restaurant. Turned into this whole thing. And then, they called security, and I'm like, Justin, let's get out of here. So we leave, and everything would have been fine. Security came, like, what's going on? I could have easily just been like, hey, yeah, the server there, as somebody I saw, stole my GoPro. We got into an argument. We're leaving, right? And they would have been like, okay, get the heck out of here. And everyone would have been cool.
Yeah.
Justin was trashed. Boom! Punches the security guard. Female. Right in the face.
Oh,
brother.
God.
It was over. We took off. Running.
Oh, my God.
Cops booked us, right? They got us quick. And we were in Hawaii, drinking area. Like, there was a lot of cops out, right?
Yeah.
We get booked. And so I got released that night. No, nothing came of it. No court. Like, literally, I didn't do anything. It was like, I didn't hit anybody. I didn't cause any trouble. It was him that had to deal with it. However, I got arrested. You know how it is, right? Yeah. Guilty until proven innocent in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
So I had to go on legal hold. I had to call Quantico. Hey, we got this Marine. He's on legal hold, so we can't send him to you yet. So I went to Quantico with this, like, rap of being this criminal.
Yeah.
So when I get there...
Yeah, because they don't call for the good stuff. They don't call like, we're sending you this amazing Marine that's the best drummer in the entire Marine Corps. No. But they sure make that phone call whenever it's time to send a ship back over.
They had, to be fair, they had to, because I was supposed to be there. And it was
Oh,
like that.
okay.
My flights
Oh, okay.
were the next morning.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have been out.
Yeah.
But that's the immaturity that I had.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I see
at the
that.
time I was
I see
married,
that.
I had a wife at home. The night before we were supposed to get on a flight at like 8 in the morning,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm with this dude out drinking. I mean, I'm not innocent,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, but still, man, it comes back to getting taken care of. And we talk about this in the last
they did. They
episode.
took care of me. Nothing came of it. Nothing happened. And so I'm piece. It did. They did. If there's one thing I can say about the command in Hawaii for PFC Dutton all the way up to Sergeant Dutton is that they took care of me.
Okay.
I should not be in the Marine Corps today.
Okay.
I'm just
That's
gonna
fair.
say that. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
I'm just gonna say that. And so I went to Quantico. That guy, Chief One Officer Zabo, retired. Screw that dude. Right? Like if brother, like I'm a man of God. I forgive you, but you are not a good person.
Mm.
You are not a good person. I hope that he has changed his ways. I hope that he's come to I don't know, but he just did not treat me fairly. You know what I mean? I get it. I wasn't a perfect guy, but he had actually gotten asked to retire because he was charged allegedly rracism, sexism, a lot of other things.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just
Old
me.
school, old school
Yeah, old
military.
school
Old
Chief One
school.
Officer 5.
Yeah, old school. That,
You know what I mean?
that I could tell that guy was old school.
But anyway, long story short, he had a bunch of yes men around him, had a bunch of people who were out to get me. And I will honestly say that, man, at Quantico, my first, I didn't do anything wrong there, man. I was a pretty good Marine, to be honest with you. I really was like a pretty good Marine.
So did you get histed?
No, I
You volunteered.
Yeah.
Okay, so you volunteered, and that was at the end of your second enlistment.
No.
I'm guessing.
So just before we get there, I want to make it known I was only in the Quantico band for like a year, maybe less,
Okay.
because they were trying to get me to sign 2 page 11 6105s for things I didn't do, and I was refusing to sign it. It was an EO complaint from this girl saying that I had called her a bitch and that she was all this stuff, and I just refused to sign that thing. And then there was another situation where I can't remember. Like we were told that we had to stay at this bar, and I was drunk, and all these veterans were. The hotel was down the street. I just went back to the hotel and went to sleep, and they were trying to give me unauthorized absence from a bar, which is not. That's not an appointed place of duty.
Oh, because like the band was playing in the bar or something.
The band was playing in that city. There was an after party that we were invited to, and we were told to stay at this bar and hang out. And I had drank, and the veterans were feeding us drinks, and like the band officer was like, "No one's leaving until I'm done drinking." And I was like, "I'm done drinking, dude." I'm sitting outside, green face, like about to puke. And then this veteran's like, "Bro, you don't look so good." I'm like, "I don't feel so good." He's like, "Bro, you guys are staying." It was Bridgeport, Connecticut. The town's this big, He's like, you guys are staying down the street. I'm like, yeah. He's like, "I'll give you a ride home." I'm like, "Sounds good." Old boy gave me a ride back to the hotel up the street. I texted the platoon sergeant, "Hey, bro, I'm at my hotel. I'm in my room. I'm safe. I'm going to bed."
What was the problem then?
The problem was that I was told not to leave. The band was told no one's leaving until we all get on the bus together. That was the distinction.
Okay.
And so I took it upon myself to leave on my own terms, and I turned into the black sheep. Long story short, I went to the first sergeant with these 2 page 11s. I was like, "First sergeant, I don't need you to know, I am not the type of Marine who would ever kill himself. However, I am the type of Marine who would kill somebody else." And I said, "I need you to help me. That's why I need you to help me, sir. Please help me."
What did he do though? Tell me about. I need to see the
I
fucking.
think his name was First Sergeant Sorgi, I think his name was.
Oh my goodness.
He looked at these page 11s. He's like, "Hold on, what happened here?" I was explaining to him. He's like, "These aren't even the right format. They're trying to get you to sign this." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "What the heck is this?" He's like, "Okay, just go back to your band hall, bro. I'll figure this out." I go back. By the time I got there, he had already drafted me orders to a place called the Ceremonial Platoon at Quantico. And I was just going to be on a burial detail. And we did about 300 funerals a year there. And I was there for like 2.5, 3 years. I was 1 year there as just like a regular Marine.
Okay, that makes sense.
Then I picked up staff sergeant. Then I became the staff, and so I see that place for 2 years.
That makes
Then
sense.
I went on recruiting duty.
Okay, got you. Okay, so now we got the timeline correct. Whenever it comes to your decision of volunteering for recruiting,
Yeah.
There is, and I've talked to a lot about this with a very good friend of mine. I know you know him. His name is Jolio Parm or Gunny Parm.
I love him, man.
Yeah, I love him too. He's a very good and close friend. But I've talked to him a lot about this. What is your opinion whenever it comes to Marines that either go on recruiting and don't tell and come back to the fleet and tell their replacements essentially, or their Marines don't go on recruiting or don't go on an SDA in general is the worst decision that you're ever gonna make?
I think they're weak.
Okay.
That's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
You have nothing else to say. That is your only opinion, that they're weak.
The people who say don't go into SDA because it's hard are weak people.
What makes them weak?
Brother, the best MOS in the Marine Corps is recruiting duty. And then, like, people, like, that's how I can tell that people are, like, their eyes are closed to the realities of life. Where do people make their money in this world? They make it in sales. They make it in business. They make it in moving people, inspiring and changing lives. Who gets paid the most? It's the people who are able to communicate. It's not the guy who uses his hands to build the thing. It's the guy who came up with the idea to build it, right? It's the person who, like, you know, they say that the people who make the most money in this world are not the smartest people. It's not the people with the highest IQs. It's the people with the highest EQ. And the place to go in the Marine Corps, the only place to go in the Marine Corps, maybe counter intel as well, right? But like,
I agree, yes.
like to understand EQ and understand how to inspire, motivate, and move a person from point A to point B because they want to, not because you want them to, is recruiting duty.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, when someone says, don't do it, why would we not do it?
Yeah, I can tell you something that it comes into my mind. It's like, well, I don't want to be in sales. I don't care about sales. I want to.
Everyone's in sales.
Yeah,
Everything is sales.
I understand,
Yeah,
and right now it's kind of like we're role playing, you know, because I agree. Yeah, I want you to know I agree with you 1,000% in what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I also got to be the devil's advocate because I know I know the type of people that are gonna watch this podcast. Only the most amazing are gonna subscribe though. Make sure that you subscribe. But I know that, you know, there's a lot of haters whenever it comes to SDAs.
Mm-hmm.
Either people that have done SDAs or people that have gone away with not doing SDAs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why, okay, so you saying that they're weak. Are you saying that they're weak because they didn't do recruiting or an SDA specifically, or are you saying that they're weak because they dodged it?
No, I'm saying the people that do an SDA and then they tell other people not to do SDA are weak. People who choose not to do it, they're just uneducated. Like, they don't see the value of it, or their circumstances just haven't led them there. Because I'm not going to be one of those dudes that sits here and says, well, you didn't do this, so you're this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not be fooled here. The Marine Corps is in charge. The second that we realize that, the better off we're going to be.
Mm-hmm. It took me. You're correct.
The Marine Corps is in charge. Like, look, yeah, I'm Dutton mindset, but guess what, man? Like,
the Marine Corps
between now and 5 years from now, if I got NJP'd for something, I wouldn't be surprised.
Mm-hmm.
You know why? Because it's subjective. Do they like you or they don't? Right? And you know what? It is what it is, man.
Dude, and that's the part that shocked me the most of understanding. Like,
yeah. So to my point, right? The Marine Corps is in charge. So, like, you don't get to choose what you do, when you do it, or how you do it. Mm-hmm. You get to give a suggestion, and if it works out in your favor, then you get that. That's why all these people who give me a hard time on never deploying and dodging deployments. Do I look like I can get pregnant? Do I look like how many times have I had a light duty chit? You know what I'm saying? Like, or a limited duty chit? Like the one time I had a foot surgery because I couldn't walk.
Yeah.
Like, I don't dodge anything. Yeah. And it's funny because I actually applied for, I forget what it's called, an IA duty, right? Or whatever it is, like, you know, an augmented position to deploy to Afghanistan. But like, my band told me no. And in fact, I can't remember what it was, but like, there was just, I was one of 3 drummers. It just wasn't happening. Well, you can't choose to leave. And to my point is this: yes. If you don't go on recruiting because they never called your name, the SDA got denied, they need you because you're in a high, like, Marines don't make decisions and say, this is what I'm doing, this is when I'm doing it, this is how I'm doing it. This ain't the Army, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is the Marine Corps, bro. You're gonna go where you're told, when you're told, how you're told. And if you don't, get out.
Yep. And I'm a firm example of that. And that's what it cost me a lot for me to understand because I was like, man, like I gave everything, just like a lot of service members also do to this institution, to the United States Marine Corps, because I'm a firm believer in the mission.
Yeah.
I am a 100% firm believer in the mission. Now, one of the things that I did want to touch up on you whenever it comes to recruiting, um, when you first got to recruiting, as a matter of fact, let me back up. Let me give you some context to the reason why I'm asking this question, right? When I went to recruiting school, I graduated like number 7 out of everybody, right? So I thought I was hot shit. Everyone that everyone in my station thought I was hot shit. But then I got to recruiting and I wrote 3 zeros back to back. That was probably the most stressful time that I've ever had in my entire Marine Corps career. Definitely top 5 within my entire life. Um, what mindset or how was your experience getting to your first station as a brand new recruiter? And what would you suggest, if you can give your opinion about like what type of mindset does a brand new recruiter need to have in order for them to be successful?
Do anything that it takes. Mentally, physically, emotionally. Do
Okay.
whatever it takes that is legal, moral, and ethical to make the contracting mission. That's the suggestion. And I'll tell you another thing. For me, I went out swinging, man. I came out hot. I didn't take 30 days of leave. I took 10. My par
Do you
was,
still suggest that though?
yeah. I suggest investing in yourself wholeheartedly. Recruiting duty was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Me too, by the way. It's the best thing that ever happened to me too. Even though my circumstances were, very different, and all that stuff, like I still blame recruiting duty for my success, 100% of it. But I'm gonna take it a step further.
Mm-hmm.
Like I told you at the beginning, you really have to be locked in. What do you tell a brand new recruiter with a family? Like, what is your advice, or do you even talk to? Because obviously, you as the ARI, your sole mission, really. I know that your personal mission might be a little bit different as a gunnery sergeant of Marines, but as an ARI specifically,
Mm-hmm.
your whole job is to train that person to have a mission or to fulfill that mission. My question to you is, what do you tell them whenever it comes to to their family?
Well, one thing I want to tell you is like your family is it's going to be different for the first year or so, maybe even for the full 3 years, right? But if you work your butt off from Monday to Thursday, you'll probably leave the office about 8 o'clock at night, and you'll probably get to the office about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and you will work 12-hour days. And if you work your butt off, and I say work, I mean you go there after your in-brief is done, you actually sit down and you aggressively make an hour worth of phone calls, and you go to your school and you aggressively try to get an appointment in a pack, and you aggressively, like you do all these things, you learn, like if you work your butt off Monday through Thursday, Friday, there's no reason for you to not be home at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Saturday, most of the time, you should not be working. And Sundays, at least it used to be, it would only be for shipping. Now shipping's on Tuesdays, so we come in on Monday to ship. So like, like the reality is, like if you break your back and you have a good leader, Monday through Thursday, it's not that bad.
That's how we used to work.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
So I'm not surprised you're saying this because that's how ours for a lot of the.
And you know what? Like, it's important for you look, there's so many things, like these cultural differences, man.
Are you talking about cultural differences when
You
it
have
comes
to
to
own
race
your
or?
family, man. You have to control your family. Like a man's job, and again, like I get it, man. Oh man, oh my God. Like you can't talk about, just shut the fuck up, bro. A man's job, a provider's job, is to provide. It's not to sit at home and be cozy and comfortable on the couch for 8 hours a day with your wife. When I go upstairs and I tell my wife, hey, I'm working all day at work, and I come home and work all day down here. That's my job, is to provide. I will do my best to balance everything. I'm a provider, I'm a protector, and I'm a parent. Those are the 3 P's that every young man needs to master. That is before your leisure time, your play time. I'm a traditionalist.
You gotta say that. You gotta say that back into the camera, because
I'm a traditionalist, but I get it, man. Like I protector, provider, and a parent. That's what it's all about. Like anything else outside of that is a luxury, and I get it. We have this society where we're told that, like, dude, that's why we're in the position we're in. That's why the world is crumbling. That's why this country is dividing, because it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You, as a man or a woman, you need to be willing to have a definite, specific, like, role in your life. Whatever that role is, you have to grind for it. And so, like, my family, like, look, in your recruiting duty, you have to control your house. There's nothing worse than a spouse, whether it's a man or a woman, to be, to say, calling the command, when he coming out, when he doing this. My wife would never.
Yeah.
She would never. You know why? Because she respects me in my role in this house.
And you're extremely blessed, and you're extremely lucky. And
I'm blessed. I had to make it that way. That's why I've been married and divorced. I'm divorced twice.
I know.
It's not luck.
I understand that. I understand that. But you have been able to shape your reality that way. You have, because of the extreme ownership that you've been able to take. And I understand that, but what I want this to be impactful is right now, brother, because I talk to them. You receive them, but I talk to them before they get to you. And I'm talking about nationwide. Marines, service members that haven't made that right decision of picking the right partner. And then now they're about to go on an SDA, and they are setting that they think they're good Marines. They think that they're going to do these amazing things, but because their house is not in order, the rest of everything crumbles. So what do you tell them?
When you are an individual who is working right now in your home, in your life, and you have the wrong marriage, a bad marriage, a marriage that's not ideal, look, man, like, I don't push anybody toward a separation or divorce, but, like, you got to know that, like, there's just the decisions that you make of, like, the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps is what your responsibilities have to be when you're a recruiter. If you have a spouse that is not okay with you going to work, doesn't understand the institution, you're going to have a hard time. There's no magic answer. There's no magic pill. What do you say? Like, well, I say that you're going to be in a lot of pain. I say that they're going to give you a hard time. And I say that it might not work out. Because even on the best marriages, recruiting duty stresses them. And again, I'll take it back. Like, the Marine Corps is daddy, and it sucks. And that's why it's not for everybody. That's why marriage isn't for everybody.
But what can they do to mitigate some of those things? Because you identified the framework, and I think it's a very realistic framework, because we can operate under that, right? Like, everything in life, I think, is a balance in between risk and reward.
They got to communicate, man. They got to communicate. They got to say, like, babe, this is where we're at. This is what we're doing. And then you got to be willing to make compromises, right? So it's like, okay, like, she knows you're going to work 12 hours. She knows you're going to come home at 8 o'clock or 8:30. You're going to have time to eat dinner, and you're going to have time to go to sleep, right? But when Saturday comes, and this is the part that the Marines, that no one wants to take accountability. What are you doing with her on Saturday? Or are you just too tired to hang out with your wife? Oh, I don't want to talk. I'm too tired. Oh, I want to play video games. Right? So it's like, oh, Marine Corps, the recruiting duty broke me. No. On Friday afternoon, what did you do with your wife? Where did you take her? What did you buy her? Did you rub her feet? Right? Did you lay down with her, right?
Did you talk her love language?
Whatever, right? Whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, Saturday, right? You're not at work that day. Did you take the family out? Did you take them out to lunch and dinner? Did you go out and hold hands and get ice cream? Yeah. No? Okay, so if you do that once a week, you're not going to have marriage issues. You're not going to have marriage issues unless a woman is a bad person. If you do that once a week, you're going to be okay. Because women are simple creatures. They just want to be loved. They want to be loved, and they're emotional, and they need patience. And you got to treat them right, right? But what a woman really wants is a man that protects, provides, and parents,
Mm-hmm.
right? Protecting, providing, parenting, right? So like I was explaining to my wife, like protecting doesn't always mean like from physical harm. Yes, that's a huge portion of it, sure. But it's also protecting her from emotional harm, protecting her from financial harm, protecting her from,
Mm-hmm.
you know, no, she doesn't have to worry about anything. She can wake up, she could take care of her kids, she could take care of her home, which is an extremely challenging job. She
It
helps
is
me in my
extremely
business.
challenging.
She is a hardworking woman, but she doesn't have to worry about the walls falling down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm protecting her peace. I'm protecting her peace by being a good man, by being loyal. Protect her peace in all ways, right? Protect her physically, emotionally, spiritually. Provide. That's why, look, I don't rely on just the Marine Corps for my income. I don't. I don't. I don't. I don't. Even up here in Boston, this house, this is a 2.5 bathroom house. It's 3 bedrooms, nothing special.
It's a very beautiful home, by the way. But it is a very beautiful thing.
$650,000,
Yeah.
right? And that's just the market rates for the houses out here. Like it's just expensive. It's expensive, and the mortgage is $4,400 a month. It's a lot of money, and so like
Definitely not covered by your BAH out here, I
it
assume.
is, it
It
is.
is?
So the
Okay.
BAH is 4,800,
That's
right?
surprising.
Yes.
That's surprisingly high for here.
Yeah, the BAH is 40,
Wow.
but the cost of living is high. So like the point is like, although I get paid $145,000 a year by the Marine Corps, it's pretty nice, but it costs a lot to live out here. I can't rely just on that. If I want to be able to take my family out, if I want to be able, and my son does not live here. My son is from a previous marriage. I have to fly to the Dominican Republic every month. I got to pay child support, right? I have to do, I mean, like I got a lot of stuff going on,
Yeah.
right? So like, I have to have a business. I have to
Yeah.
find a way to provide. And so, it comes down to just manning up. Man up. You think that men back in the day, like back in the 1800s, in the 1700s, didn't have to man up and go work, right? Or
Yeah.
before that, they
Yeah,
had to go out
100%.
and fight.
Since the beginning. Yeah,
Right.
since the beginning.
That's
Yeah.
called being a man. And now we don't, there's no such thing as a man. Yeah, there is, dude.
Yeah.
And the demasculation and the all these, uh, it's killing our society, man. We need people who are men that do the hard things, the heavy loads.
And
And I'm not saying women can't, but most of them won't.
the part that I've come to find out whenever it comes to this specific subject, whenever it comes, because this applies to everybody, not just the people in the military, is you have to be the man regardless of the circumstances. And let me explain. What you and I are talking about, you're going to encounter a lot of friction because that is not their norm nowadays. It used to be the norm by the times that we're talking about, but nowadays you're going to encounter so much because people think that that is the norm.
Yeah.
And you have to understand that. If you want to be the 3 Ps like he's saying, you have to understand that that is no longer the norm.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, like nothing's the norm. I'm a Christian. If someone came in this house right now and told me to denounce my love of Jesus Christ, or they're going to blow me away and kill my whole family, kill us all. Kill all of us. Start with them and then kill me, because I don't want them to see that. Right? And so, like,
That's deep, bro.
That's how it is.
Yeah.
That's not okay anymore. It's not okay to believe in the book that this country was built off of. And people will sit here and try to paint the narrative. Well, it actually wasn't. On the money you spend for your Starbucks coffee, it says, "In God we trust. The streets of heaven are guarded by United States Marines." Right? Like, I'm a Christian. I'm not saying that you have to be a Christian. I'm not saying that you have to believe in Jesus. I'm not saying you can't be Islamic or you can't be Buddhist and you can't be, I'm not saying any of that. All I'm saying is Christians are persecuted in this country. I'm not allowed to openly be a Christian. I'm not allowed to read my Bible in my uniform without someone questioning it.
Obviously, this is going to be the last subject that we talk on. I feel like we've been recording for an hour and 4 minutes, and I think there's so much things that are still here to unpack. Good thing that we are going to be doing another episode, but I want to talk to you specifically about this subject because I am really good at seeing body language, as any good recruiter would, right? I see that your body language is very passionate about this one specific subject, right? And it should be, which is, religion and the freedom of religion in this country. Why does it bother you so much? I think I personally know, but I want to confirm it.
Why does what bother me?
The prosecution of your religious beliefs. Because you've been prosecuted for a lot of things, brother. A lot of things. About the Marine Corps. Your body language didn't speak the way that it did whenever people touch the very fabric of what it means for you to be a Christian. So why does that bother you so much?
The only thing that matters is the relationship that you have with God. Nothing else matters in comparison to that. Our existence alone proves that God exists. Jesus Christ was a real man who came and taught and healed and had miracles, who died, was raised from the grave, defeated death, and ascended into heaven with many, many witnesses who saw this, wrote it in a time where writing was not cheap or convenient, and then died gruesome, aggressive, disgusting deaths, including being impaled, including being crucified upside down, including being skinned alive and boiled alive and chopped to bits and beheaded because of what they know to be true. And then we are told from these people and through other writings that there will be a time where people forget and people are persecuted because of their beliefs. We had a man who was assassinated, not just because of his freedom of speech, but because of his faith, because he was a Christian man who believed in the tenets of Christianity and was murdered. And there are people, many of them, half, if not more, of this country who glorified his death. Christianity is the only faith right now. I don't even want to say religion because I'm not a religious man. I am a man who is a believer of Jesus Christ. In Africa right now, Christians are being murdered, massacred, like in the thousands and thousands.
Mm-hmm.
Christians are being killed in this country. Churches are being shot up. It is a fight between good and evil. The devil is real. Satan is real. Demons are real. Period. And so for me, the Marine Corps is not anything in comparison to my faith of God. Like this life, I know that when I die, I am not actually dead. That I'm moving on.
Yeah.
I'm convicted of that. So
No, so I get it. No, I get it.
it's the only thing that matters.
Yeah,
Everything else is
it
irrelevant.
bugs you. It bugs you because, who are those people to question or to dictate the type of relationship that you can have with God?
They question themselves, bro. It's that they are people who deny God. It's denying themselves. It's like denying the fact that you and I are sitting here right now. Me denying the fact that you are sitting across from me is like denying God.
Mm.
To think again, brother, like it is what lies beyond the universe. What are we? The only explanation that has ever made sense, that ever held true, and has ever really made, like, it really makes sense is the fact that the Bible was written and then Jesus Christ came and that he had miracles. His own half brother was murdered because of what he knew to be true. Like, My point in saying all what I'm saying right now is that is the most logical explanation as to what it is that we are. Jesus Christ came to try to help us understand. That's the reason why God sent his one and only son, for us to try to understand, because we weren't understanding. If you read the Old Testament, it's just people not understanding and people committing adultery and people committing idolatry and people they just did not understand. And so he sent Jesus. Boom, Jesus is here. And then we killed him. And so we think the Bible was taken out of schools in 1967. Prayer was taken out of schools, in 1967. Bibles were taken out of school in 1968. It was replaced with a Marxist ideology. Are you familiar with Marxism?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Marxism is a godless, stateless, classless ideology that has essentially created the idea of communism and socialism and whatever the case is, right? We are actively always fighting communism from this country, right? But yet people don't realize that socialism is a stepping stone to communism. Our country
It is
removed
fundamentally
God from schools, removed God from households, removed God from everything. And look what has happened with our country. Look out the people, brother. Open your algorithms. You're watching people be murdered online like it's nothing. We're watching black against white and black against brown and black against black. And we are there's no God anymore. And people don't have a moral compass. And boys are girls and girls are boys and blue is green and green is blue and triangles are squares and squares are triangles. Like no one knows what is real and what is all because we just refuse to acknowledge the fact that our own pride, our own ego, and what we desire and our selfishness is we want that to be the most important thing. We are created to do one thing and one thing only, and it's to worship God. And I'll end with this. When you go on Amazon, if you're going to spend $1,000 on Amazon, would you buy something on Amazon for $1,000 and not read the reviews?
No,
of course not, right? So it's like, don't believe me. Don't even believe the description of the product, the Bible. Don't even believe that. Read the testimonials. Read the reviews. There are thousands and thousands of videos all across the world of people who have died, have been clinically pronounced dead by doctors that have said, and I'm talking not just for like seconds, I'm talking 9 minutes to 9 hours, and have been resuscitated. And when they come back, they have no ailments. The issues that they had, the liver failure, this thing, that thing, healed. But they had experiences in hell and in heaven. If they were dead with no pulse and no brain activity, how can their soul and spirit still be experiencing? And they all speak about the hell and heaven in the same way. They speak about the grass in heaven the same way. They speak about the way the angels look in the same way. They speak about the way that Satan looks in the pit and all these things in the same way. People from the 70s, 90s, 2000s, black, white, blue, green, orange, like all different people. They don't know each other, but they all say the same things. How? But we don't want to do that research. Because we don't want to know the truth. Because we don't want to have the idea that when we die here, our soul continues onward. Where does it go? What does it do? People don't realize that they're going to go to hell and they're going to be tortured and they're going to be in pain and they're going to suffer. They don't realize that.
Because they don't want to put in the work.
They want to live however they want to live right now.
Exactly. And and I know I said we were going to end this, but it's just the conversation is way too good. I promise it's going to be the last one. That's the moment that I had very recently. That is the moment that I had very, very recently, brother. And for me, it wasn't about questioning God or the existence of God. Like I think I'm very clear in that. But for me, it was trying to hold on, man. Like we try to hold on so much. I tried to hold on to things, brother, that I didn't realize at the moment were really holding me back.
Like what?
That's a good question, man. Like what? I want to be honest with you, and this is a very I guess we can start the next podcast talking about that. Because I want to share this with you again. Like, I don't think the audience have seen me be very quiet whenever it comes to my podcast, and I think on this third episode I'm going to explain why. So let's go ahead and let's talk about it, guys. Max, where can people reach out to you?
Yeah, check me out at Dutton Mindset on all platforms. Go to Amazon, check out my book, 10 Lessons to Escape Mediocrity and Build Your Dreams.
All right, guys. You guys know where to find me. Make sure that you guys see the previous episode. Make sure you guys like, follow, subscribe. I don't think you guys need to know who he is or how to find him because he has way more followers than I do. But make sure that you guys go follow Max and all of his social medias. Make sure that you guys go follow me, Ramos_Capital. Make sure that you guys find me. Leave a comment, leave a follow. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.